good morning, and welcome to this week's edition of Coffee Chat with me. I am Catherine Oster, and I am so excited you are watching this and you are live with me. Hello, good morning. Hey, Loretta, good morning, lady. Coffee cheers. Coffee cheers. Good morning, you guys. Thank you. Good morning, Ruby. Thank you so much for joining me. Wow. Well, if you're watching this in real life time, this is your daily date update. Today is Friday, December 2nd. Holy moly, December 2nd. How did we roll into December so quickly? And how does it get better than this? Good morning, Mom. Oh, you guys. Okay. I'm gonna wait 30 more seconds before I dive into my topic. And it's cold. I live in St. Walburg, Saskatchewan, Canada. It's minus 30 Celsius this morning, and I think it's even a little bit colder than that with the wind chill. It's very crispy and cool, and I actually don't mind it at all. But it always blows my mind how cold it gets. Okay, this week for Coffee Chat, what is consciousness anyway? This is something that I've been asking myself, wondering about for myself. Like I talk about consciousness and I'm a certified facilitator for Access Consciousness, and we facilitate these classes that are creating consciousness. But like, what is consciousness? And I know that it's not relevant, like that you don't have to have taken an Access Consciousness class to be conscious. That I know. This is just these are just some tools that I use to create greater consciousness for myself, for me to be that. And what is that? And I came across this sentence today in one of the manuals. Consciousness is a level of awareness that expands everything in your life because it gives you more choice. That I came across that the other day, and I was like, those are the words. Those are the words. Consciousness is a level of awareness that expands everything in your life because it gives you more choice. And then I was kind of like, looking at these things in my life and how this has evolved and shown up for me over the last 8 years. And one of them that is so clear to me was with the horse. This summer, I'm a horse trainer. I take client horses in for training. And a past client just contacted me again. And I had started this horse under saddle as like a 3 or a 4-year-old, like about 4 years ago. And they contacted me. They're like, "Hey, Catherine, we haven't done a lot with this horse since you got him going for us. We're ready to start using him now. Do you have time to take him and maybe do like a little refresher with him?" I'm like, "Yes, absolutely I can." And we, booked a date, and he actually came in August. And so this is like 3 or 4 years later. And, I started, with some groundwork, started working with him, and he was doing really good. And he seemed to remember all the things, and that made me really happy. And then when I went to saddle him, like put the saddle on him and work him with that, holy moly, did he start bucking, like bronc bucking, like really big bucking, like the biggest bucking I've ever seen. And I was like, wow, wow. So that actually continued on. I'm not riding him today, that's for sure. Um, that continued on for like 3 or 4 days, maybe 5 days, where he would do this bucking, and it got less and less each day. But I'm like, what is this? Like, I did not remember him bucking like 3 or 4 years ago when I started him. I didn't remember that. I don't think he did at all. And I'm like, what? Like, what is going on here? And it brought up a lot of stuff for me. I'm like, first of all, I did not want to ride him because I didn't want to get hurt. And And second of all, like, what is this? And what it kind of led me to was like really dive into like physical stuff with him. So he needed his feet trimmed, his hooves trimmed, so we got that done. And then, and then he was a little bit stiff in his body, so I had my friend out. She does a really great equine massage, Chiro, MagnaWave, and she worked on him. And there was definitely stuff out in his body that was physical. And then she was doing this thing in his mouth, and then she felt his teeth, and he had like weird stuff going on with his teeth. Like they were crooked. Anyway, it was like we looked at his mouth and we're like, oh boy, he needs to see a dentist. So made an appointment, had the dentist out, and I've been in contact with the owners the whole time. And they were like, yes, let's do this. Yes, let's do this. They were approving all the physical stuff. And so the dentist came out, got his teeth worked on. He had stuff going on in his mouth that definitely needed to be addressed. And yeah, and then my friend, I was also, who worked on his body, she's also very much intuitive and sees a lot of different horses. And I'm like, what is your sense of him? Like, does he want to ride? Because sometimes horses don't want to do what we think they should do when they do things like bucking and, or is it something else? And she was kind of like, no, I really get the sense that he wants to ride, like that he wants to go. And I'm like, okay, cool. That's kind of what I got too. But anyway, so after we got the physical stuff done, saddled him back up and he was good. Like he actually didn't buck. But I couldn't get on him. Like my body was like, no. And it brought up all this stuff for me, like, well, Catherine, you could judge yourself as what kind of horse trainer are you if you're not even going to get on, and all these judgments. And I'm like, no, like something is stopping me. And it's that awareness, that awareness. And maybe he probably would not have bucked if I had gotten on. Or maybe he would have, or maybe he wouldn't have, but my, concern about that or projection of that would create it for him. It's totally, horses can be very tricky that way. And I thought, it's not fair to him for me to get on him when I'm projecting that he's going to do this crazy bucking that I saw, when he first came. And so I just put on the big girl panties, phoned up the owners, and I'm like, we did all this physical stuff and that could totally be what was causing all the bucking, but like, I don't have it in me to get on him. Like, I'm getting older, I'm almost 40. I do not want to hurt myself. I just can't. And and then my friend had suggested these other young trainers in the area, and they're way more into ranching and roping stuff, and they're just starting out, they're like in their 20s. Hey, Bobby. And she had suggested them, and I'm like, yeah, them. And I was like, that made me really excited. Like that was like the really light energy of like, what's next with this horse? Them. And so I actually reached out to them, and they're like, yeah, we would love to take him, but it's going to be if, 6 weeks or before, or whatever. And so when I called the owners, I was like, I'm not going to be able to ride your horse. It's not fair to him. And I just, got this thing going on. But what about if we send him to these people? And they were like, yes, like, thank you so much for being honest with us. And yes, and they want to use him for ranch work anyway. That's their target. And they would love it if he could be introduced to roping. And I don't do any of that. I'm like the dressage rider you know, that starts, horses in a Western saddle. I can totally teach the basics, but he needed something different. But he needed to come to me first to get all of these physical things addressed in his body so he could move forward and be. And so it was very exciting. And so I offered, I'll keep him at my place because they actually live close to me until they're ready. And it's, they'll just pay me board, blah, blah, blah. So the day came, delivered the horse to the new trainers, and he's been doing really good there. Like really good. And I was so happy about that. And so that is consciousness for me. That is consciousness where, it doesn't mean, I really could have easily judged myself as a terrible horse trainer, and maybe I'm getting too old to do this, but that's not actually true. What is true is this horse required something different from me than what horse trainer would necessarily do. And getting out of the definition of being so solid and in a conclusion of he's here to me for training. This is what the training looks like. No, the training with this horse was very different. A very different facilitation. Good morning, Lynn. And now he's where he needs to be to gain the education that he needs to gain for him and his owners and what they want to do with him. And it created greater for me to recognize that not all horses show up to me for necessarily horse training. Good morning, Carmen. It's starting to change, and yes, and some of them still do. And it created greater for him, the horse, because I could, dive into these physical things for him and change that. And then it created greater for these new young trainers to, work with this horse who's doing really well with them. And I think they're enjoying him, and it gives them business and working with different people. And it created greater for the owners because they're getting, what they would like with this horse. That is consciousness. It creates greater for everyone when you are willing to get out of the definition and the conclusion and the judgment and just be with your awareness and trust that. Oh, yes, Ruby. Yeah. Good morning, Shannon. So, consciousness is a level of awareness that expands everything in your life because it gives you more choice. How does it get better than that? And so that's one of the aspects of consciousness for me. And I wonder, what else is possible? How does it get better than this? Anyway, thank you so much for joining me, you guys, for this week's edition of Coffee Chat. I'm so grateful for you. And I wonder how much fun you can have and what is that for you? And yeah. So, and I also wanted to let you know, if you are in Hudson Bay or near that area, I'm going to be facilitating classes there next weekend, which I'm very excited. I've never been to Hudson Bay before. Traveling there, Carmen is going to facilitate bars with me, and then we're going to do foundation in Hudson Bay. And what would it take for me to see some northern lights while I'm there? And I wonder who's going to show up and play, and yeah, so that. Anyway, have an amazing day wherever you are, whatever you're up to. If you're near me, stay warm. And I wonder how much fun you can have. Cheers. Mwah. Bye-bye for now.